Hello everyone, coin collectors, treasure seekers, and curious viewers alike. Rarest coins today, we're shining the spotlight on a specific coin, the 1966 Washington quarter. We'll walk through its history and composition, explore how many were minted, check what normal market values look like, examine what might make one unusually valuable, and then ask the big question: could one of these really be worth $1.9 million? Let's begin. History and background. The design you see on this coin, the Washington bust on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse, was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of President George Washington's birth. Over time, it became the standard quarter design. By 1966, the U.S. Mint was well into the era of non-silver quarters. The silver content had been eliminated in 1965 because of rising precious metal prices and hoarding pressures. For the 1966 Washington quarter, the composition is the copper-nickel clad variety. Outer layers of 75% copper/25% nickel over a copper core, rather than the earlier 90% silver coinage. Also significant, during the years 1965–1967, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks from most circulating coinage in an effort to discourage hoarding and speculation. That means the 1966 Washington quarter has no mint mark, despite being produced at the Philadelphia facility. According to mintage figures, the 1966 Washington quarter had a production of around 821,101,000 regular business strike coins from Philadelphia, no mint mark, plus some special mint set (SMS) versions. Because of that very large mintage, the coin is generally considered common in circulation, though high-grade examples are much rarer. 2. What its typical value is now. Let's talk what you should realistically expect in value for the 1966 Washington quarter. For a regular circulated example, the kind you might pull from your pocket change, the value is basically face value, 25 cents, in most cases. Guides list the value in average worn condition at around 25 cents. When you move into better condition or uncirculated, mint state coins, there is a premium, but still modest relative to some dramatic claims. For example, one source reports that for regular business strike 1966 quarters in MS68 plus grade, the top sale recorded was approximately $21,000. Another value guide lists uncirculated MS66 at maybe $9, $43, MS67 perhaps $6 or $228, MS68 up to $9 is $11, $750 for regular strike coins. So to summarize, most examples are worth very little beyond face value. Premium values exist, but in the thousands of dollars range, not hundreds of thousands or millions. 3. What can make one worth a lot more given that the typical coin is common and modest in value? What factors might push value substantially upward? Here are the main drivers. Condition/grade. A coin in mint state, uncirculated, with full original luster, minimal marks, and strong strike, will command a premium. Because many coins get handled, worn, or scratched, truly high-grade specimens are much scarcer. Rarity/survival in high grade. Even though hundreds of millions were struck, only a tiny portion survive in top condition. MS67, MS68, MS69. That scarcity in top grade boosts value. Errors or special varieties. Coins with recognized mint errors, for example doubled dies, off-center strikes, struck on wrong planchet, or with special mint set finishes, SMS, may fetch higher prices. For the 1966 quarter, varieties like double die reverse, DDR, or special mint set issues are noted. Provenance/uniqueness. If the coin has a documented history, for example from a famous collection, is the finest known example for the date, or has extraordinary aesthetic appeal, toning, cameo contrast, that can further amplify value. That if you happen to hold a 1966 Washington quarter that ticks one or more of those boxes, very high grade, error/variety, unique provenance, you might indeed have a coin worth far more than average. 4. What about the $1.9 million claim? Now we arrive at the striking claim. A 1966 Washington quarter is worth $1.9 million. Is that plausible? Let's evaluate with the facts. The regular 1966 Washington quarter has a mintage of about 821 million coins. That means it is a very high mintage, very widely produced date. Most examples in circulation are worth only face value plus minor premium in higher grade. Many guide values list top regular strike coins selling for thousands of dollars, not hundreds of thousands or millions. For example, a regular strike MS68 Plus sold for $21,000 for the coin to reach seven figures, i.e. more than $1 million. One of these things would almost certainly have to apply. It is an extremely rare error or variant, with very few known examples. It is the finest known specimen at the highest grade possible, MS69/MS70, and has documented provenance, or some combination thereof that I found no credible public record of a 1966 Washington quarter regular strike, selling for $1.9 million in mainstream numismatic auction databases. Guides state the peak for regular examples is around $21,000. One source even dismisses the idea of dramatic values by stating, if you don't have an error or exceptional grade, the coin is basically face value. Therefore, the claim that a 1966 Washington quarter is worth $1.9 million is almost certainly not valid for a standard coin without some truly extraordinary attributes. If you see someone claiming, found in 1966 for $1.9 million, you should ask, what's the certificate? What's the auction record? Is it an error or unique variety? Without that, treat the claim with extreme caution. 5. What to do if you have one. If you happen to own a 1966 Washington quarter, here's a practical checklist. Check the date, 1966, and note the lack of mint mark, which is standard for this year. Evaluate the condition. Is it obviously worn? Are major details such as Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers clear and sharp? Does it have original mint luster, or is it dull/cleaned? Look for errors or varieties. Could it be a double die, for example, doubling visible on In God We Trust or the eagle's wings? Could it be struck on a wrong planchet? Could it be a special mint set, SMS, finish? These features may elevate value. If you believe your coin is uncirculated or has a recognized error/variety, consider getting it professionally graded and certified by a major grading service. For example, Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. Research recent auction results for the same date, mint, variety, and grade so you can compare realistic values. Don't rely only on sensational listings. If the coin is a normal circulated 1966 quarter with no obvious error, set expectations accordingly. It is likely worth near face value or a modest premium at best. 6. Summary and closing thoughts. To recap, the 1966 Washington quarter is a non-silver clad coin produced in very high numbers, over 821 million, with no mint mark, Philadelphia. For most examples in circulation, its value is essentially face value, 25 cents. For uncirculated coins in top grades, or for coins with special varieties or errors, values can rise into the thousands of dollars. For example, one MS68 Plus sold for about $21,000. The claim that a 1966 Washington quarter is worth $1.9 million is almost certainly not credible for a standard coin without extraordinary provenance or error status. If you own one, inspect condition, check for errors/varieties, consider grading if warranted, and compare realistic market data rather than headline claims. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 1966 Washington quarter. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next exploration of rare coins and hidden values. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, real value lies in documentation, condition, and rarity, not hype. Hello coin collectors, change hunters, curious viewers from around the world. Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to zoom in on one specific coin, the 1993 P Washington quarter, that is the regular business strike quarter minted in 1993 at the Philadelphia Mint. We'll explore its origin and historical context, how many were made, what its realistic value is in the current market, and then we'll look at the bold claim. Could one of these be worth $1.6 million? Let's dig in. 1. History and context. Let's set the scene. The Washington quarter design was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of President George Washington's birth. The designer John Flanagan created Washington's bust on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. By 1993, the Washington quarter is well into its modern era. No longer silver, but a copper-nickel clad composition, produced for general circulation. Specifically for the 1993 P version, it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint with a mintage of 639,276,000 coins. The metal composition is about 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel as clad coin. The diameter is about 24.3 millimeters and the weight about 5.67 grams. Because more than 600 million were struck at this mint alone, this is clearly a high mintage, very common date in the Washington Quarter Series. 2. What typical value looks like now, let's talk about what one of these is realistically worth in the market. For most of these coins that were used in everyday circulation, pocket change, rolled at banks, etc., the value is essentially their face value, about 25 cents. For example, One Coin Value Guide lists the value of the 1993 P Washington Quarter at 25 cents in average circulated condition. When you move into uncirculated or mint state condition, there is some premium. One guide lists that an uncirculated 1993 P may start to fetch about $8.55 or more in mint state condition, MS Plus, for this date. Auction record data from the certification services show that the highest price recorded for a 1993 P regular strike in recent years was around $780 for a coin graded MS66. So yes, uncirculated coins in strong condition can reach into the hundreds of dollars, but these are still many orders of magnitude below $1 million. Other value guides reflect similar ranges. For example, a chart shows MS64 for this date might sell for a few dollars. MS65 maybe $1 or $2, MS66 maybe $95. MS67 maybe $225, $350. So in short, for a standard 1993 P Washington Quarter, unless it's in exceptional condition or has some special attribute, you're looking at modest value, certainly not hundreds of thousands or millions. 3. What can make one worth significantly more given that the ordinary 1993 P is common and modest in value? What can make a specific specimen worth much more? Here are the primary factors. Condition/grade. A coin that is in mint state with full original luster, sharp detail, minimal bag marks or surface imperfections will command a premium. Because many coins get handled, circulated, or stored poorly, truly high-grade coins are much rarer. Rarity of high-grade survivors. Even though hundreds of millions were struck, only a small number will survive in top condition. That scarcity in high grade drives collectability and value. Errors or special varieties. If a coin has a recognized minting error, off-center strike, wrong planchet, double die, etc., or a major variety that is in demand by specialists, that can boost value significantly above the baseline for that date. Some guides show values for error 1993 quarters much higher than the standard. Provenance/uniqueness. If the coin is part of a famous collection, has documented history, is the finest known example, or has a unique finish or toning that can push its value further. So if you believe you have a 1993 P Washington Quarter that is uncirculated, maybe MS66 or MS67 or better, and perhaps with a recognized error/variety, you might have something considerably more valuable than face value. But you must still have the documentation and condition to back it up. 4. What about the $1.6 million claim? Now we reach the key claim, that a 1993 P Washington Quarter could be worth $1,600,000. Is that plausible? Let's break it down. Given what we know, very large mintage, 639,276,000 at Philadelphia. Large numbers surviving, common date, matching value guides showing top certified sales in hundreds of dollars for the regular strike non-error examples. For instance, the highest documented sale for the 1993 P was about $780 for MS66. For the 1993 D version, the auction record is around $1,485 for an MS67 Plus example. So to claim $1.6 million for a standard 1993 P Washington Quarter, you'd almost certainly have to be looking at an extremely rare error/variety, an ultra-grade specimen, perhaps MS68 or MS69 or MS70, and with extraordinary provenance or uniquely documented status. Because the mintage and surviving population of ordinary examples are substantial, there's simply no market precedent for six-figure, let alone seven-figure, values for the standard strike of this date. I found no credible verified auction record publicly published showing a regular 1993p Washington quarter selling for six figures or millions. The documented ranges remain in hundreds to low thousands at most for high grade. That leads to the conclusion that such a million-dollar claim is almost certainly sensational or speculative unless you have a coin of unprecedented rarity or documented uniqueness. If you hear or see an advertisement or video claiming 1993p Washington quarter worth $1.6 million, you should approach it with caution and demand proof, grading certificate from a top service, auction record, documentation of rarity or error/variety, provenance. 5. What to do if you own one. If you hold a 1993p Washington quarter in your collection or you found one in your change roll, here's what you should do. Check the mint mark and date. The coin should read 1993 and be the Philadelphia Mint. Confirm the mint mark location and authenticity. Assess the condition. Is the coin obviously worn from circulation? Are the details of Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers sharp? Does the coin have original luster, or is it dull? Are there scratches, bag marks, toning? If it looks nearly uncirculated, or even better, it may merit further inspection. Look for errors or varieties. Examine for doubled letters off-center strikes, missing mint mark, wrong planchet, significant die cracks, unusual toning. These features can add value above standard strike coins that if you believe your coin is uncirculated and high grade, or possibly has an error/variety, consider having it professionally graded and certified by a reputable coin grading service. Certified grade and population data will help you determine market value and sell or insure the coin. Compare recent auction results for the same date/mint/grade so you can see what the current market supports. Use realistic market data, not sensational headlines that if the coin turns out to be a standard 1993p in circulated condition, don't expect extraordinary value. Its worth will likely be near face value or modestly above if in good uncirculated condition. 6. Summary and closing thoughts to wrap up. The 1993p Washington quarter is a modern, high-mintage coin, 639,276,000 minted at the Philadelphia Mint. Struck in 1993 to 4 typical circulated examples, its value is around face value, 25 cents, or slightly more in good uncirculated condition, up to say $8 or so in mint state according to some guides. For high-grade uncirculated coins, values can climb into the hundreds of dollars, e.g., a sale of $7.80 for MS-66. The claim that a 1993p Washington quarter is worth $1.6 million is almost certainly not valid for a standard strike coin without extraordinary attributes. It would require one of the rarest combinations of grade, variety/error, and provenance imaginable. If you own one, check the condition carefully. Look for any unique features or error characteristics. Consider grading if you think you have a high-grade or error specimen, and compare with realistic market data rather than sensational claims. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 1993p Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next coin value exploration. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, million-dollar coin headlines are rare. Most value lies in verified condition, documented rarity, and certification rather than hype. Hello coin collectors, treasure hunters, casual viewers who hoard change just in case. Welcome to today's video. We're going deep on one specific coin, the 1984 D Washington quarter. That is the quarter struck in 1984 at the Denver Mint, with the D mint mark. We'll look at its story, how many were made, what it's worth right now, and why some people claim it could be worth more than $1.4 million. Let's dive in. History and background. Let's set the scene. The Washington quarter design originally appeared in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of President George Washington's birth. The designer John Flanagan crafted the bust of Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. Over time, the coin evolved from silver to clad composition. By 1965, regular issues were no longer silver, but clad copper-nickel. By 1984, the Washington quarter is fully mature in its modern form. The 1984 D coin, struck at the Denver Mint, has a mintage of 546,483,064 coins. The coin's composition is 75% copper, 25% nickel outer layers over a pure copper core. The diameter is roughly 24.3 millimeters and the weight about 5.67 g. So already we know, huge production, modern clad coin, mass circulation. These are important because they strongly affect how rare or common the coin really is. Typical value now, let's talk value in the real world. What is the 1984 D Washington quarter worth? For the vast majority that were used in circulation, the value is essentially its face value, 25 cents. For example, one value guide lists the 1984 D quarter as 25 cents to about $10.10 plus, depending on condition. Another source states that uncirculated examples might fetch $0.2635.00 based on condition. Auction records support this. One record for the 1984 D graded MS-67, which is very high grade, sold for about $759.38. So for a standard 1984 D Washington quarter, unless it's in exceptional condition or has a special attribute, you're not looking at high five figures, let alone 6 or 7. What drives higher value since the ordinary coin is common with modest value? What can make a specific example worth significantly more? There are a few major factors. Condition/grade. Coins graded at MS, mint state. Conditions with little to no wear, strong strike, clean surfaces, minimal bag marks or scratches will command premiums. For example, the difference between a circulated coin and a high MS-67 coin is enormous. Rarity/survival of high grade. Even though millions were minted, only a small portion survive in pristine state. That scarcity in high grade boosts value. Errors or special varieties. If the coin has a minting error, off-center strike, wrong planchet, double die cracks, etc., or a recognized die variety, that can raise the value beyond the normal range. Provenance/uniqueness. If the coin has a story, is part of a famous collection, or has unique attributes that make it truly one of a kind, that can push value into an exceptional tier. So for the 1984 D. If you have one that is uncirculated, high grade, MS-66, MS-67 or better, and maybe has an error or special variety, you might get more than the typical value. But still, the jump to million-dollar claims is extreme. What about the $1.4 million claim? Now let's talk about the big headline. A 1984 D Washington quarter is worth $1,400,000. Is that realistic? Let's examine. Given what we know, the mintage for the 1984 D was over 546 million pieces. With such a high mintage, the coin is a common date in the Washington quarter series. Normal market values for even high grade are in the hundreds to low thousands as current records show. For example, the $759 MS-67 sale. When you have a coin where hundreds of millions exist, to reach million-dollar value, it would almost certainly require one or more of these. An extremely rare mint error or variety that extremely few exist, an ultra-grade coin. Think MS-69 or MS-70 perfect. And or a significant provenance. As of now, I found no credible public auction record showing a standard 1984 D Washington quarter selling for $1.4 million. The highest documented are in the low hundreds or low thousands. For example, PCGS lists $780 for MS-67. Thus, the claim of $1.4 million is nearly certainly a sensational exaggeration unless you have an unprecedented find. In other words, possible only under very special circumstances, error plus ultra-grade plus unique history, and extremely unlikely for the typical coin. When you see videos or posts proclaiming, found $1 million coin from 1984 D Washington quarter, the chances are high it is misleading or speculative. Always ask for documented evidence, grading certificate, photo, auction result, provenance. What you should do if you have one. If you happen to hold a 1984 D Washington quarter in your collection or found one in change, here's how you should approach it. Examine the coin's mint mark, D for Denver on the obverse, above Washington's shoulder. Assess the condition. Is the coin heavily worn from circulation? Are major details like Washington's hair and face, the eagle's wings sharp? If the coin looks OEM fresh, luster intact, minimal marks, that's good. Look for errors or varieties. Is the coin off-center? Is there doubling of letters, Liberty, In God We Trust, etc.? Is the planchet composition odd? These could make a big difference that if you believe the coin is uncirculated and exceptional grade, consider having it sent to a reputable coin grading service, such as PCGS or NGC, for authentication and grading. Getting a high grade makes a difference. Check recent auction results for the same date, /mint/grade, and see what comparable coins sold for. This gives a realistic market benchmark that if the coin is circulated and standard, don't expect hundreds of thousands or millions. Keep expectations grounded. Summary and closing to recap. The 1984 D Washington quarter is a modern, high-mintage coin. Over 546 million pieces at Denver. Struck in 1984. For normal circulated examples, its value is about face value, 25 cents, or modestly above if in good uncirculated condition. For high-grade uncirculated coins or error/variety coins, you can see values in the hundreds to low thousands of dollars. The headline claim of $1.4 million for a 1984 D Washington quarter is almost certainly not valid for a standard coin. It would require extraordinary circumstances that if you own one, check condition, look for special features, consider grading, and compare with documented market sales. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 1984 D Washington quarter. If you liked this video, please hit like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you don't miss future coin value explorations, and share it with friends who might be finding coins in their pockets. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, the few that make millions are rare exceptions, not the rule. That if you'd like, I can prepare a companion video script with scene cues and graphic suggestions, or we can look up documented error/variety examples of the 1984 D that have higher values. Do you want that? Hello coin enthusiasts, treasure seekers, and curious viewers alike. Today we're zeroing in on a specific coin, the 1998 P Washington quarter. That is the quarter struck in 1998 at the Philadelphia Mint, rarest coins, with the classic Washington obverse and heraldic eagle reverse. We'll explore its origin and history, how many were made, what the realistic value is in the current market, and then we'll address the bold claim. Could it be worth $1.2 million? Let's dig in. 1. History and background first. The background. The Washington quarter design was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of President George Washington's birth. The design by John Flanagan placed Washington's bust on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. By 1998, this was the final year of the wide-scale Washington quarter with the traditional heraldic eagle reverse before the series shifted into the 50-state quarters program in 1999. Specifically for the 1998 P version, it was minted in Philadelphia with a mintage of 896,268,000 coins. It is composed of a copper-nickel clad combination, 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel, over a copper core, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and weight about 5.67 g. Because nearly 900 million coins were made just in the Philadelphia Mint alone, this is very much a common date in the Washington quarter series. 2. What its typical value is. Now let's talk realistic value. For a standard 1998 P Washington quarter in circulated condition, i.e., one that has been used in commerce, worn, maybe dulled, the value is essentially face value, about 25 cents. For example, CoinTrackers lists the 1998 P at 25 cents in average circulated condition. For uncirculated or better condition coins, value rises somewhat, but still remains modest given the huge mintage. For example, USA Coinbook lists for 1998 P uncirculated, MS Plus, conditions something around $8.55 or more. And a guide note indicates that for MS66, MS67, etc., some rare examples trade a bit higher, but the guide emphasizes this coin is common. One auction record, PCGS, shows a 1998 P regular strike, MS66, sold for $1,440 on June 26, 2024. So yes, ultra top grade examples do push into four figures, but that is still far from hundreds of thousands or millions. 3. What can make one worth a lot more since most examples are common? What can make a 1998 P Washington quarter worth significantly more? Here are the main factors. Condition/grade. A coin that is mint state, MS, with no wear, full luster, sharp details, free of major contact marks. A high-grade specimen commands a premium. Because very few coins survive in flawless condition, the scarcity of high grade adds value. Rarity of grade. Even if the coin is common in circulation, the number of specimens certified in MS-67, MS-68, MS-69 is much smaller. For the 1998 P, reports suggest fewer than 50 certified MS-68 examples. Errors or special varieties. Some coins may have minting errors such as off-center strikes, struck on wrong planchet, doubled dies, missing clad layer, etc. These can significantly raise value relative to normal coins. For example, one guide suggests that for 1998 P doubled die obverse or wrong planchet coins might hit hundreds or thousands in value. Provenance/uniqueness. If the coin has a documented history, unique finish, or is part of a famous set, that can enhance value further. So in short, if you have a standard 1998 P quarter, it's common and modest in value. If you have an error, or the coin is ultra high grade, the value could be much higher, but you must have credible evidence and certification. 4. What about the $1.2 million claim? Now we get to the major claim. Some might suggest that a 1998 P Washington quarter could be worth $1.2 million. Let's evaluate that. Given the information, nearly 900 million minted in Philadelphia alone, wide availability, typical auction results in the low thousands for even high grade. The claim of $1.2 million appears extremely unlikely for a standard 1998 P coin. As one expert statement says, the 1998 Washington quarters are common, and all 1998 Washington quarters have high mintage and remain widely available in circulation. To reach 7 figures, the coin would need to possess extraordinary attributes, an error or variety of unprecedented rarity, or be the one perfect specimen of its kind, backed by auction record. I found no verified record of a 1998 P Washington quarter, regular strike, selling for anywhere near $1.2 million in the mainstream auction databases. Instead, examples in top grade typically trade in the hundreds to low thousands. For instance, the MS-66 sold for $1,440. Therefore, the claim of $1.2 million should be treated with extreme caution. It may be a sensational headline rather than grounded in documented market reality. If you ever hear 1998 P Washington quarter worth $1.2 million, you'll want to ask for 1. Certificate from a major grading company, PCGS/NGC. 2. Auction record showing the sale. 3. Proof of rare variety or error. 4. Detailed provenance. Without those, the claim is speculative. 5. What to do if you have one? If you happen to own a 1998 P Washington quarter, here's a practical checklist. Identify the mint mark/origin. For 1998 P minted in Philadelphia, the mint mark may be absent. Philadelphia Mint often did not use P on quarters then, or shown as P. Confirm the date, 1998. Evaluate the condition. Is the coin worn? Are the details crisp? Is the luster intact? Are the fields free of major marks? If the coin is only lightly circulated, it may still be modest value. Look for errors or varieties. Check for doubling in letters, wrong planchet, off-center strike, missing clad layer, etc. These could elevate value. If you believe your coin is high grade or a variety, consider having it professionally graded by a reputable service, PCGS, NGC, to document condition and authenticity. Research recent auction results for the same date, /mint/grade to gauge realistic value. Set expectations based on documented market offers. Unless your coin has extraordinary attributes, expect modest value rather than millions. 6. Summary and concluding thoughts. To recap, the 1998 P Washington quarter is a modern, high mintage coin, 896,268,000 minted in Philadelphia, and is the last year of the classic Washington quarter with heraldic eagle reverse. For most examples in circulation, the value is face value, 25 cents. For uncirculated or mint state coins, the value can rise into the single or low double digits, and in high grade into the hundreds or low thousands. The factors that drive major value are condition/grade, rarity of high-grade survivors, errors or varieties, and documented provenance. The claim that a 1998 P Washington quarter is worth $1.2 million is almost certainly not valid for a standard strike coin without extraordinary attributes. It's a sensational claim lacking mainstream documented support that if you own one, check the condition, look for special attributes, consider grading, and compare realistic auction data rather than headlines. Thank you for watching this detailed look at the 1998 P Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next coin exploration. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, million-dollar headlines are rare. Most value lies in verified facts, certification, and great condition rather than hype. Hello coin collectors, curious viewers, treasure hunters of change everywhere. Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to zoom in on one specific coin, the 1984 P Washington quarter. That is the quarter struck in 1984 at the Philadelphia Mint, the P Mint mark. We'll explore its origin and historical context, how many were made, what its realistic value is in the current market, and then we'll examine the bold claim. Could it be worth $1,500,000? Let's dig in. 1. History and background. Let's start with the backstory. The Washington quarter design was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of President George Washington's birth. The designer John Flanagan placed Washington's bust on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. By 1984, we are well into the modern era of the Washington quarter, composed of clad copper nickel rather than silver. Specifically for the 1984 P version, it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and according to mintage data, the figure is 676,545,000 coins for the 1984 P. The composition is the copper-nickel clad, outer layers 75% copper, 25% nickel over a pure copper core, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and weight about 5.67 g. Because more than 676 million of these coins were struck at that mint alone, the 1984 P quarter is a high mintage, very common date in the Washington quarter series. 2. What its typical value is. Now let's talk value in the real world. For the vast majority of these coins that were used in everyday circulation, pocket change, rolled out at banks, etc., the value is essentially the face value, about 25 cents. For example, CoinTrackers lists the 1984 P Washington quarter in average circulated condition at around 25 cents. When you move into uncirculated or mint state condition, there is a premium. According to USA Coin Book, for the 1984 P clad quarter, in uncirculated MS Plus condition, it might begin to fetch something beyond face value. PCGS lists an auction record for a 1984 P graded MS 67 at about $1,293, sold February 4, 2016, for the 1984 P. So yes, coins in exceptional grade can fetch in the thousands, but notice this is far, far below millions. Typical values for well-graded but not ultra-rare coins of this date are in the hundreds to low thousands, not hundreds of thousands or millions. Other guides list uncirculated examples perhaps in the tens to low hundreds, depending on grade. 3. What drives higher value? Since the standard version of the 1984 P quarter is common and modest in value, what can make a specific example worth significantly more? Here are the main drivers. Condition/grade. A coin that is in mint state, unused, with full luster, sharp strike, minimal marks, will command a premium. Because the vast majority of coins get worn or bag-marked in transit, high grades are far rarer. Rarity of high-grade survivors. Even though over 676 million were struck, only a tiny proportion will survive in near-perfect mint state. That scarcity of survivors in high grades helps drive up value. Errors or special varieties. If the coin has a recognized minting error, off-center strike, wrong planchet, double die, filled mint mark, etc., or a unique die variety, that can raise its value significantly beyond a normal strike coin. For example, guides mention errors for 1984 quarters. Provenance/uniqueness. If the coin is part of a famous collection, has unique toning or a very special finish, or is the best known example of its kind that can escalate value further. So, if you believe you have a 1984p Washington quarter that is uncirculated, maybe even MS67 or better, maybe with an error or unique attribute, you might have something considerably more valuable than face value, but you must have the documentation and condition to support it. 4. What about the $1.5 million claim? Now we come to the major claim. Some might say that a 1984p Washington quarter is worth $1,500,000. Is that plausible? Let's evaluate. The facts. Very large mintage, 676,545,000. Many circulated examples. Only modest premiums for high-grade examples historically. For example, MS67 record $1,293. So for a piece to reach a seven-figure price, $1.5 million, one of the following would almost certainly have to be true. 1. It is an extremely rare error or variety of which only very few exist, and which is highly desirable. Point 2. It is the highest graded example ever known for that date and mint mark. For example, maybe MS68/MS69 or near perfect, and has strong provenance and collector demand. Point 3. It has a combination of both ultra-high grade plus extreme rarity plus historical uniqueness. Given the mintage and market history, I found no credible public auction record showing a standard 1984p Washington quarter regular strike selling for anywhere near $1.5 million. Most recorded sales are in the low thousands for high grade. So unless you have an ultra-rare variant or error, or maybe a unique specimen, the claim of $1.5 million appears highly improbable. If you hear or see a claim, 1984p quarter worth $1.5 million, you should treat it with caution and ask for proof. A certificate from a major grading service, verified auction sale, and evidence of rarity/variety. Without such proof, the claim is almost certainly speculative or sensational. 5. What to do if you have one? If you happen to own a 1984p Washington quarter, here are steps you can take. First, check the mint mark and date. The coin is 1984 and minted at Philadelphia, P. Confirm the mint mark, often a P for Philadelphia after the mid-1970s, and the date. Assess the condition. Is the coin heavily worn? Are the details of Washington's hair, the eagle's wing feathers clear? Does it have luster or wear? Are there bag marks or scratches? Coins that look nearly uncirculated or mint state are of greatest interest. Look for errors or varieties. Check if there is doubling of letters, off-center strike, missing mint mark, or other anomalies. These could increase value. If you believe the coin is uncirculated, high grade, or has an error/variety, consider having it professionally graded and certified by a reputable service such as PCGS or NGC. A graded coin can command higher value and is easier to market. Compare recent auction results for exactly the same date/mint/grade to gauge realistic value. Don't rely on sensational claims without backing. If the coin is just a standard circulated example, face value is likely near its worth. That's okay. Many coins find value in collecting as much as in monetary potential. 6. Summary and closing thoughts. To recap, the 1984p Washington quarter is a modern, high mintage coin, 676,545,000 minted at Philadelphia. For normal circulated examples, its value is around face value, 25 cents, or maybe slightly more if in good condition. For uncirculated coins in strong grade, you can see values in the hundreds or low thousands of dollars. E.g., MS67 sold $4.293. The claim that a 1984p Washington quarter is worth $1.5 million is almost certainly not valid for a standard strike coin without extraordinary attributes. It would require one of the rarest possible circumstances. If you own one, check condition, look for special features, consider grading, and compare realistic market data rather than headlines. Thank you for watching this detailed look at the 1984p Washington quarter. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next coin value exploration. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, the million-dollar coin headlines are rare. Most value lies in verified condition, rarity, and certification rather than hype.